I asked when the wedding is, and my daughter-in-law said, "We got married yesterday, we only invited special people." I always believed that the bond between a parent and a child was unshakable. That no matter how far life took them, no matter who they married, no matter the storms we faced, there would always be a space for me in my son's heart. I raised him alone. His father walked away when he was young, and from that moment on, it was just the two of us against the world. I worked 2 jobs. I skipped meals so he wouldn't go hungry. I gave up on dreams of my own so that he could have his. And when he grew into a man, when he found success, I thought finally my sacrifices had been worth it. So, when he introduced me to the woman he said he wanted to marry, I was nervous, yes. But deep down, I was also relieved. Because I believed he had found someone who would love him the way I always had. 4 months, I waited for the big announcement. The date. The venue. The moment I would finally get to see my boy standing at the altar. But that moment never came. Every time I asked casually, they brushed me off. "Oh, we're still planning." "Oh, nothing's set in stone yet." Until one afternoon, unable to take the silence anymore, I looked at my soon-to-be daughter-in-law and asked, "When is the wedding? I'd like to start preparing." She looked me in the eye and smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a genuine smile. A smile that held a hint of victory. And then she said the words that shattered me. "Oh, we got married yesterday. We only invited special people." At first, I thought I'd misheard her. I asked her to repeat it, and she did. Calm. Cold. Unapologetic. I felt the ground slip beneath me. Special people? If I wasn't special enough to be at my own son's wedding, then who was? I rushed home, hands trembling, heart pounding. I picked up the phone and called my son. When he answered, his voice was soft, almost guilty. I demanded to know why I hadn't been invited. And after a long silence, he whispered words that cut me in half. "Mom, she didn't want you there." The world stopped spinning. She didn't want you there. My son's wife, the woman he chose to spend his life with, had erased me from one of the most important days of his life. I asked him, "Why didn't you stand up for me? Why didn't you tell her I had every right to be there?" And his response was even worse. "She said you're too controlling. That you'd make the day about you. That she wanted peace and happiness, without your shadow. Without my shadow." Do you know what it feels like to raise a child with every ounce of strength in your body, only to be told later that your very presence is a burden? That night, I sat in my room in complete silence. I stared at the walls, at the pictures of us together. His first day of school. His graduation. The birthdays I planned, the nights I stayed awake nursing him through sickness. And now, I wasn't even worth a chair at his wedding. But then, something strange happened. The next day, a neighbor came to me. She whispered that she'd seen pictures online. Pictures of the wedding. I didn't want to look. But I couldn't resist. When I opened the photos, my heart nearly stopped. There they were. My son, my daughter-in-law, surrounded by people. Smiling. Celebrating. Dancing. And among those faces, I saw hers. His estranged aunt. My late husband's sister. The woman who had hated me from the very beginning. The same woman who had once accused me of stealing her brother's life. The same woman who told me, years ago, that she'd make sure I'd never be fully part of this family. She had been there. And I hadn't. The betrayal wasn't just from my daughter-in-law. It wasn't just from my son. It was part of something bigger. Had this all been planned? Had they been whispering behind closed doors, plotting my exclusion? Had my daughter-in-law chosen to align herself with the one person who despised me most? The realization made my blood run cold. I confronted my son again. This time, I wasn't calm. I demanded answers. And he broke. He admitted that his wife had told him I was toxic. That I had too much influence over him. That if he allowed me to be at the wedding, she'd feel overshadowed. And then he said the most painful thing I have ever heard in my life. Mom, I had to choose between you and her. And I chose her. I couldn't breathe. The boy I raised, the man I sacrificed everything for, had chosen someone he had known for just a few years, over the mother who gave him life. Tell me, viewers, what would you do if your child told you that? Would you forgive? Or would you cut ties completely? The days that followed were a blur. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. The house felt empty, haunted by memories of laughter that now felt like lies. But then, I received a letter. It was from my daughter-in-law. In it, she wrote, "Consider this a new beginning. From now on, we decide who is in our lives. If you want to be part of it, you'll need to respect boundaries and know your place." Boundaries? Know my place? I am his mother. The woman who gave him life. And now I was being told to step aside, like some stranger who had no right to love him. But the story doesn't end there. Because last week, I overheard something that chilled me to my core. My son's cousin called me. He said that at the wedding reception, my daughter-in-law had made a toast. And in that toast, she said, "Today, we start a new chapter. A family free from the past. A family without interference." And then she raised her glass, as the entire room cheered. It was then that I understood. This wasn't just about a wedding. This was about erasing me. Completely. Now I sit here, torn apart, asking myself, do I fight for my son's love, even if it means constant humiliation from his wife? Or do I walk away, letting him live his life, even if it means I'll never be part of it again? Tell me, what would you do? Life has a cruel way of showing us the truth. And the truth is, sometimes the people we love most will break our hearts the deepest. But if my story resonates with you, remember this. Family is not always about blood. Sometimes, the ones we fight hardest for are the ones who leave us behind. What do you think? Was I wrong as a mother? Or is my son blind to the woman who's tearing us apart? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Confession Chronicles, because sometimes, the stories we share are the only way we heal. Part 2. After my son's wedding betrayal, everything changed. When my daughter-in-law told me, "We got married yesterday. We only invited special people," I thought nothing could hurt me more. But I was wrong. The real pain came after. For 3 days, I didn't eat. I barely spoke. The house that once held laughter now felt like a grave. I told myself I was finished. That I would cut my son off, once and for all. But then, he showed up at my door. He looked nervous. Tired. Like a man who hadn't slept since the wedding. He said, "Mom, please. Don't shut me out." For a moment, hope flickered in me. Maybe he regretted what happened. Maybe he realized what he had done. But then his next words crushed that hope. "She's pregnant." We wanted to start our marriage fresh. No drama. That's why we didn't invite you. Please try to understand. Pregnant. So that was the reason. Or was it just another excuse? I stared at him, my heart torn in two. Part of me wanted to embrace him. To forgive him. To hold on to the little piece of family I had left. But another part of me, the part that remembered her cold smile, wanted to scream. I asked him one question. If she truly wanted a fresh start, why did she invite people who despise me? Why did she let them celebrate while I sat here alone? His silence was my answer. That day, I made a decision. I told him, if I'm not special enough to witness your vows, then I won't beg for scraps of your love. Go. Live your life. But don't come running back when you realize what you've done. And then I closed the door. For weeks, there was nothing. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Until one evening, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, and on the other end was a trembling voice. It was her. My daughter-in-law. She whispered, I didn't want to call you, but I need your help. He walked out on me. In that moment, my blood ran cold. My son had left her? So soon after the wedding? After choosing her over me? She begged me not to tell anyone. She said he had stormed out after an argument. That he hadn't come home in 2 days. And then, she broke down crying. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I pushed too hard. I didn't think he'd actually leave me. I listened in silence. Part of me wanted to hang up. Part of me wanted to laugh at her pain. But another part, the mother in me, still ached for my son. And so, despite everything, I went searching. I found him. In a bar, half drunk, staring at nothing. When I sat beside him, he didn't even look at me. He just whispered, Mom. I think I made the worst mistake of my life. I asked him what he meant. And his words shook me to the core. She only married me because of the baby. And now, I'm not even sure it's mine. In that moment, I felt everything at once. Anger. Vindication. Sadness. Fear. The son who cut me out of his wedding was now broken, trapped in a marriage built on lies. And I realized this story was far from over. So tell me, viewers. If you were me, would you forgive your son and help him escape this mess? Or would you turn your back and let him face the consequences of betraying you? Life has a cruel way of circling back. One day you're the outsider, the next you're the only person left to pick up the pieces. And now, I hold the power. The question is, what will I do with it? If this story gripped you, share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Confession Chronicles. Because the next chapter of this story? It will change everything. Part 3, the truth about my son's marriage that no one saw coming. When my son confessed that he wasn't even sure the baby was his, I felt my entire world tilt on its axis. This was the same man who chose his wife over me. The same man who shut me out of his wedding. And now, he was sitting in a bar, broken, questioning everything. At first, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to hold him and tell him everything would be alright. But another part of me, the wounded mother inside, wanted to spit the truth back at him. You chose her. You chose this. But before I could speak, he grabbed my hand. His voice cracked as he whispered, Mom, I need you. I don't know what to do. And just like that, the power shifted. The very next day, he confronted her. And I was there to witness it. "Whose baby is it?" he demanded. She froze. Then, with that same icy calm I remembered from the day she humiliated me, she said, "Of course it's yours. Who else could it be?" But her voice wavered. Her eyes betrayed her. And in that silence, I knew my son's instincts were right. He demanded a DNA test. She exploded. "How dare you? After everything I gave up for you, after everything I've endured with your mother, you dare question me?" And then, she turned her fury on me. "This is your fault. You poisoned him against me. You've been waiting for this moment to destroy us." Her words cut through the room like knives. But I didn't flinch. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't the weak one. Days passed in tense silence while we waited for the results. And in those days, something shifted. My son started visiting me again. Not as often as I wanted, but enough. We ate together. Talked late into the night. And for the first time, he apologized. "Mom, I should have never let her push you out. I see it now. I was blind." Those words healed a part of me I thought was gone forever. But the healing didn't last long. Because when the results came in, everything shattered again. The child was not his. I watched his face as he read the report. His hands shook. His lips trembled. And then, he collapsed into a chair, whispering, "She ruined my life." But what happened next shocked even me. Instead of apologizing, instead of begging for forgiveness, my daughter-in-law stood tall and said, "Good. Now you know. Yes, it's not your child. And I don't regret it. You were my ticket out of misery. My ticket into a life I wanted. And now, thanks to your mother, it's all slipping away." She wasn't crying. She wasn't ashamed. She was furious. Furious at being exposed. And then, the final twist came. Because as she stormed out, she shouted, "You think I'm the villain? Ask your precious aunt about the deal she made with me. Ask her why she wanted me to keep you away from your mother. You'll see who the real traitor is." My son froze. I froze. Everything stopped. The aunt. The woman who had hated me for decades. She wasn't just whispering poison, she was in on it. And suddenly, it all made sense. The exclusion from the wedding. The lies. The manipulation. It wasn't just her. It was both of them. Now, my son is torn. His marriage is in ruins. His trust in his aunt is shattered. And for the first time, he's looking at me not as a burden, but as the only person who never stopped loving him. But here's the question, viewers. Should I take him back into my life after everything he did to me? Or should I let him sit in the mess he helped create? Because forgiveness is easy to speak about, but nearly impossible to give when the scars run this deep. Life has a way of stripping people bare. And now, the truth is out for everyone to see. But the war is not over. Because if my daughter-in-law and his aunt join forces once, who's to say they won't strike again? So tell me, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you fight to rebuild with your son? Or would you finally walk away for good? And don't forget, this story isn't over. The next chapter will reveal the aunt's shocking motives. And trust me, it's darker than anyone could have imagined. Subscribe to Confession Chronicles, because the storm has only just begun.